Yo, what's good, guys? Today we got Eva Zubek. Hopefully I said that right. With How I See the USA as a European After 6 Months. Man, these videos, I don't know, man. They're always interesting. Whenever I see them pop up, I always watch them just because, like, they're just intriguing. So, just to see, like, an outsider's perspective on a place I've known my entire life and know nothing but. So, let's get it.
All of this by just saying that this is not a political video at all. It's just my impressions, my views, my opinions, nothing too serious. Best
Facts.
drivers and worst all-way crossroads. I am not surprised that a lot of people don't have passports in the US. I literally got kicked out of a Starbucks. Would I ever live in the United States? All right.
How, you know what? Nah. I was gonna say how the fuck she get kicked out of Starbucks, but you know what? We'll just play the video.
Let's get started. So I'm Ava, and I'm a travel
What's up?
YouTuber, as many of you might know. I've traveled to,
I
I
envy
don't know
that.
how many because I don't really count, but 70 plus countries. And
That's
I am
cool,
as
man.
European as it gets, in the sense that I was born in Poland, I grew up in England, but I lived in a whole bunch of different European countries. Italy, Germany, Belgium, Poland, England. Recently,
That's
I wrapped
kinda
up
cool.
a
Okay.
6-month trip of the United States, where I traveled all across the country. You know, the
Ooh.
United States is such an interesting place. Some people love it.
I'm gonna be honest. I want to do that so bad. Like, I want to get like a little, not even little, like I want to get like an old bank SWAT truck or like something badass like that. Soup it up so I can go through any kind of terrain. Build a little studio apartment in that bitch with me and my dog, and just travel with my friends, man. Like, I think that would be fucking awesome. You know? So, I, just seeing and hearing what she did, I fucking envy that so much. That's kick-ass. I am jealous of that. That's kick-ass.
Some people hate it. So in this video, I want to give you a little bit of a dose of how a European might perceive the US. First of all, cultural shocks. So you see, you know, back home in Europe, we're all brought up with, you know, Americanized culture of some kind. But it's only when you get to the United States that you realize how different some things are. So for starters, everybody smiles at you in the US, and people give you random compliments on the street. Like, I'll be
facts.
walking down the street and someone will just like shout out from the other side of the street, like, "Nice tattoo, man," or like, "I love your hair," or like, "I love your necklace."
Facts.
People are so nice. I love that about the US. Another cultural shock that I experienced are the cars. All the infrastructure is centered around cars. So, you know, in Europe, it would be really easy to like take a bus or a train somewhere. In the US, it's like, you got a pickup truck or you have nothing at all. You take your pickup truck, even though you're not hauling anything, most likely in your pickup truck.
Hey, you got a pickup truck or you got nothing at all and you ain't even hauling shit with it. That's funny. See, those are what we call pavement princesses. That's the kind of truck she's describing, right? You know, like a fancy pickup truck with never have been put to work once. That's what you call a pavement princess.
And like, you go to a drive-through restaurant,
Yeah.
drive-through cafe, drive-through shop, drive-through ATM.
Yeah.
I swear there's probably not a single drive-through ATM in
I
all
didn't know-
of
wait,
Europe.
that's rare?
The point is, it is a
I never realized that's a... Really? But the reason I paused the video before, too, she distracted me with the truck comment, is like, one thing you gotta realize, too, with the bus is how inconvenient the buses are here. Like, let's say in my town, right? You want to go from here to, say, the other side of the town. I would have to catch the bus at the right time, then take that bus down to the bus, like, whatever you call it, the bus station where they have all the other buses, get onto the right bus that would then go through all the stops to take me there. So I'd have to catch 2 buses damn near an hour apart to just get to the other side of the town instead of like ordering an Uber or something. Like, it's just not, at least in my town, it's not worth it.
very car-centric culture. So without a car, it's kind of hard to get around, which is a major inconvenience if you don't drive. Also, I feel like in
That's
some
true, though.
of the places that I've been to in the United States, the concept of a pedestrian doesn't really exist. because there's like no sidewalks, pavements. I don't know what you call them in the States. Pavements or sidewalks? I'm not sure what they are. Anyway, it's like they are the least important thing on the road, which is kind of sad because, you know, I like walking. Another cultural...
Yeah, see, a lot of people either just walk through grass or like these little like pullover lanes. A lot of people walk on them. So, you know.
I don't know what you call them in the States. Pavements or sidewalks? I'm not sure what they are. Anyway, it's like they are the least important thing on the road, which is kind of sad because, you know, I like walking. Another cultural shock that I encountered was whenever I went to restaurants. What is up with the waiter just literally taking your card and then taking it somewhere? I don't know where they took it. Are they like taking it to steal my data? Are they like, where did they take my card? You know, in Europe, every single time the waiter would come over with the little card reader machine and you would like put in your PIN, you know, right there at your table. In the United States, they take your card away from you. And then there's the tipping culture. In the United States, you know, you go to get a coffee, it costs like $4, $5, whatever. And then you're taking it away, but you're still expected to give a tip. And it's not just any tip, it's like 20%, 25%. Those are like the little options that they give you on the little iPad. You know, and if you tap like 10% or 15%, that means you're cheap. And that just makes you feel really terrible, like an awful human being.
Yeah.
So you end up tipping 25%. We don't have that.
That's probably just a you thing, because, to be fair, maybe it's just I don't give a shit, but there's definitely truth to the whole tipping thing, even though, I don't know, I look at it as like a good thing and a bad thing, because I do think it incentivizes people to like give a shit about the service they're providing, but then I also think that they should also make enough from their job where they don't need to live on tips. So I think there should be a middle ground there where, you know, they can still earn a tip if they're good, but they don't need the fucking tips to survive.
In Europe. In some countries in Europe, you don't even tip because I guess waiters are paid an appropriate living wage, so they don't actually need to rely on tips, unlike in the US. In some countries in Europe, you do tip a little bit, like 10% maybe, if the service is really excellent, but in a lot of places, you just wouldn't. So that was a really interesting difference. Not only are the prices in the United States generally higher, but you also have to add that extra for tipping. Also, sales tax. Like, again, you go to a supermarket, it says one price, but you end up paying something completely different.
Bruh, I hate that.
What's up with that?
It's
and then
so
there's like a
fucking
couple
stupid.
of really small things that at first you don't even notice until you get it really wrong, and then you learn very quickly. So date formats. In the States, they put the month ahead of the day. How does that make any sense? Surely you should go from like smallest to biggest, right? Day, month, year. In the US, it's month, day, year. I'm sorry. It's just simply wrong. And Fahrenheit. Don't even get me started.
Fair, you know what? Fair enough. I can't really... My only excuse is it's what I'm used to, so I'm going to keep using it, but fair enough. Can't argue that.
Fahrenheit on pounds, on feet, and inches. I grew up in the UK, so I am familiar with some of those units, but Fahrenheit, just so confusing. So, like, 0 is the point just before freezing. So anything below 0 that is freezing should just be minus, right? But in Fahrenheit, somehow it's like 20 Fahrenheit is freezing. I don't even know. Spent 6 months there, did not learn a thing. All right, let's move on to some of the differences between the United States and Europe. So I drove all across the United States, right? Like kind of twice, like all the way from Texas to Alaska, and then all the way from Alaska to Southern California. And one thing that really struck me is the driving.
I want to do that.
So first of all, in the US, it's pretty...
Like, I want to go for like a giant drive, just hit every single state. Like, that sounds fun as... This lady's making me jealous, dude.
Common not to know how to drive, you know, stick shift, like manual. In Europe, that's basically how you learn. Everybody drives manual, and people do have automatic transmission cars, but like you can drive both, right? Whereas in the States, it's mostly automatic transmission, which is kind of funny to me. So I felt like people gave me extra props for like being able to drive manual, whereas I'm just like, well, it's nothing special. Everybody does it back home, you know? Then there's the road rules. Things that I just didn't know before coming to the United States. For example, in the US, even when the traffic lights are red, you can still make a right turn, right? In Europe, that is not the case at all. If the light is red, it is red for a reason. You have to stay there. Stop. Unless there's a little like green arrow like pointing to the right. Otherwise, you're standing there and waiting until it turns green. I can't tell you how many cars have like literally just sat there behind me waiting for me to make a right turn before I realized that I was actually allowed to do it. But they would just, you know, sit there and like honk at me and I'll be like, what's your problem? It's red. And then my favorite thing about driving in the United States, all-way crossroads. You know the crossroads with like the like red stop sign and then that says like 4-way or all-way? I still don't know what the difference is, but what it is, and this is mind-blowing, you drive up to this crossroad and then the first person that got to the crossroad has priority. So there's 4 directions, right? And then there's 4 people competing for priority. So you gotta sit there in your car while driving and like calculate, okay, that guy was first, that woman was second, then that guy, and then I'm fourth. And then there's more cars coming. So it's super confusing. Like it's like a big mental workout. I am not kidding you. I used to find this so confusing. And like, I just didn't even know that was the rule. So it took me a little while to kind of figure that out with the help of a friend. I would just like literally stand there and like wait for people to go because I had no idea what the hell was going on there. In Europe, the person that's on the right always has priority. That's it. So you.
I was taught that here too, though, like right away. But I don't know. You know what? I don't even fucking know that either.
Another big difference between Europe and the United States is the sheer distance of everything. So back home, you know, you'd like drive to the next city and you'd be like, yeah, you know, I'm like 3 hours away. You know, I'm like 200 kilometers away, or whatever. In the US, like people don't even talk about driving in terms of hours. They're like, yeah, it's a 2-day drive. A 2-day drive? Like in Europe, that is literally like the other end of the continent.
Okay, to be fair though, your experience driving here was going across the country, so that might be a little skewed. People do talk in hours, generally speaking, not days. That one, I feel like you just got a different experience.
In the US, you're just...
Also, that wasn't a very flattering pause for that.
It's like driving from one state to the next. It's pretty radical. And also, Texas is huge. It's like never ending. Texas never ends.
Texas is pretty big.
Never.
Ever.
My leg is asleep. Moving on to some of the expectations versus reality. Oh, yes. Hello.
Oh, hey, it's a puppy! Aw, I used to have a German Shepherd. R.I.P. my German Shepherd.
Naturally, before coming to the US, before doing this massive road trips, I had some expectations built up about the United States. Now, mind you, this wasn't my first time in the US. I had already been to like San Francisco, LA, New York City, Miami, you know, but this is the first time that I actually drove across the country rather than just staying in cities. So yeah, I definitely came with some expectations. So let's see how they matched up to the actual reality.
This should be interesting.
Okay, first of all, I really thought that I would see guns absolutely everywhere. Honestly, like to be completely honest with you, I expected that every Walmart would sell guns. That was literally the idea that I had in my head, that every single Walmart in the United States had a gun section. That is not true.
Well, there's all kinds of sections here at this Walmart beyond the groceries. There's one thing that I do not see is guns.
It took me like 5 Walmarts before I actually got to the one that did have a gun section, which was really interesting.
It's probably
like,
super
in Europe,
Walmart.
You just do not see guns ever. But in the US, they are relatively common. You do see in some states, obviously like states that are like open carry states, you see people with actual guns, like right, you know, like right here, right here. Which is interesting because that was an experience I never had before. But I definitely expected to see more guns than I did in reality. Now, this is not a video about...
Let's address that real quick. I feel like she probably had the impression though, like people like to believe from what I've seen on the internet about the US that like when people have guns, they like to flash their guns and like show off their guns. Like, no, most of the time you never know that someone has a gun until they need to show the gun for a reason. Like, it's not exactly like everyone's just walking around like a framed picture of their gun, just shoving it in everyone's face. Like, no.
Gun problems and gun laws and things like that. I'm sure we all have our opinions. The fact is that I just expected to see many more gun shops everywhere that I went. And
You know, that's because the news likes to dramatize things and make things bigger than they actually are. And, you know, there's the reality. And I keep pausing it. Just great
one thing that
moments
I
for
was
this poor lady.
kind of worried about, I expected everybody to always talk politics. Because again, you know, politics is
that's
such
the
a big,
news.
contentious, polarizing subject, not just in the US right now, but all around the world. So I was really worried that I would come to the US and I would have to have political conversations with people. And that fortunately didn't happen. I mean, the funny thing is that if you're from the States, the way that you have a conversation is telling of your political stance. The way that you joke about gun laws, or even just like looking at fences, you know, with like Trump 2024 or Biden something. There is so much politics all around the US, and like I think in the like psyche as well, in the American psyche. But luckily, I think as a foreigner, you get the privilege of not having to talk about politics. And I feel like people do see you as a bit of an alien in some way, that they just kind of spare you the political discourse, which is...
I wouldn't say that's the case as much. Like, it's just like, unless it's really purposely coming up in conversation, like not everyone, like you're not gonna have someone like, oh yeah, who do you vote for, blah blah blah. Like, at least I've never had that. Like, it's always, I don't know. Maybe she's right. It's the way you talk is obvious, or I don't know. But that's... We don't have those conversations as much as you think, is what I'm trying to say.
I also expected all the food in the States to be absolute and utter trash. Garbage. There's so many of these words that now just trip me up. Garbage is American, trash is British. Is it?
I use both.
I think it is. Okay. So I expected all food in the States to be trash. It wasn't. It wasn't all bad. Maybe that's because I have been following mostly a vegan diet, so I have been avoiding a lot of the like super processed stuff. But the fact of the matter is that trash food is very, very, very cheap and very widely spread. But in the US, you can also get some of the best food in the world. It's just that it costs
That's true.
extra. Whole Foods, I love you. I love you. The reality is, what's up? What's up? Intruders? The reality is that the US has the best and the worst food in the world. It's just that the best food comes at a very high price point. I feel like back home, more people have more access to better quality food.
That's probably true for that.
For like much lower prices. All right, let's move on to some of my favorites, some of my least favorites, some of my frustrations, some of my struggles. Best drivers and worst drivers in the United States. My favorite places in the US, Montana, Wyoming,
the puppy.
and then Central Nevada. Not Las Vegas. Never been there. Like the desert.
See, that's kick-ass. See, like, going on a trip with your dog. Bro, I want to do that, bro. I want to go out with Rocco. Rocco, wanna go on a trip? Wanna go on a long-ass car ride? Yeah, he does. See?
Nevada.
Subscribe so I can do this. I'll even, like, vlog the whole experience, bro. We could have fun. Do it.
There's so much nature, so much space,
Sounds fucking
so much
kick-ass.
beauty. Least favorite place in the United States? Yellowstone National Park. Granted, I went there like at the height of the tourist season.
Fair enough.
Man, that place is basically just a massive glorified parking lot. It is like nature completely Disneyfied. And you know, okay, it's great. It's probably more widely accessible to a lot more people, but
it probably would have been better if she would have went when people aren't there.
I just feel like it just lost its charm.
Fair.
So
That's fair.
I might give it another shot in the future, but I wasn't wowed. Best drivers in the United States, Washington and Oregon. By and large, very polite. Worst drivers, Nevada and Montana. Oh my god. And I'm sorry to say, but if you own a Ram pickup truck, you are very much in that category. I I can't tell you how many pickup trucks have like passed me while like you're honking
Yep.
and showing me obscene gestures for not going faster. It's like,
Yep.
man, my car is like 17-year-old, 3.5 ton expedition rig. I cannot go faster than 60 miles per hour. Physically impossible. You know, have some respect.
Yep.
Yeah, Ram pickup drivers.
Yeah.
Not my favorite type. Here's a few things.
Hey, justice for the Ram drivers out there. Come on now. Hey, listen. Y'all got things to do, places to be. Like, shit. Gotta go. Gotta do what you gotta do.
That I found frustrating.
But, hey, one thing I will say is there's definitely a lot of the middle finger thrown in traffic. I've seen that a lot. Or, you know, some would say done it allegedly, but, you know, I'd never do such a thing ever.
And nice surprises in the US. So, you know, I walk barefoot a lot of the time, and I literally got kicked out of a Starbucks for being barefoot.
Bruh.
And there's plenty of restaurants and cafes and shops that have like that really obnoxious no shirt,
shoes,
no shoes, no service sign
yeah.
on the front door. Man, it's like, yeah, like I'm not hurting anyone by being barefoot.
I don't get why anyone would care. Like, that's kind of dumb.
So that was a bit annoying. And then a lot of places don't allow dogs, which is also a little bit sad because this little munchkin over here, come here, come say hello. This little munchkin over here would like to go to your cafe, and he's a very good boy.
Now, I want to add something to this. The reason they didn't allow dogs is because she had a German Shepherd, a real dog. Now, if she would have had a little foo-foo poodle that could be in her purse, nobody would be giving a shit. I guarantee you, it's big dogs that they give an issue about. Little foo-foo dogs can get damn near anywhere.
Good boy, right? Just look at it.
He's a pretty dog. Aw.
Okay, here are some of the nice surprises that I had when visiting the US. So by and large, I found people in the US to be really, really, really lovely. Very friendly, really polite, you know, very welcoming and hospitable. And that's
I'd say
a
that's
really
true.
pleasant surprise. And this was probably my favorite thing about the US was the sheer diversity of the country. I mean, there's just so much to see. And I could
Facts.
pretty much wild camp in all of these amazing places in my 4x4 rig. I would imagine that if you're in like a giant RVs, what the hell? We don't even have those in Europe. RVs. That's definitely another culture shock. Anyway, I can imagine that if you're in a giant RV, that wouldn't be the case, but in my little truck, I had
Nah, you can't. If you can get it out there, you'll be fine. It's more of a thing of just make sure you leave it how you found it, you know? But you can, as long as you can get out there, you'll be alright. The issue with the big RVs would most likely be how to get out there and how to, you know, get through it, which is why if/when I'd ever do something like this, I need me something that's powerful as fuck, that can get through any debris, get over anything, but still have enough space to, you know, live in it and not be cramped.
had access to so many beautiful places, and that was just awesome. So, you know, back home in Europe, people sometimes make fun of Americans, you know, saying that, oh, they're Americans, they're not very cultured, they're not very well traveled. But you know what? I completely get it now. Like, I get it why most Americans don't even have a passport. Because everything is so far away. You know, in Europe, we have this amazing privilege that we can literally hop on a train or hop in the car, and within a few hours, we are in a completely different country with a separate language, a different culture. It is just so diverse, and everything is really close together back home.
See, let's talk about this. I don't think that's so much the reason. I think the bigger reason is that, let's say I want to go on a beach vacation, right? If I'm from the UK or somewhere and I want to go on a tropical vacation, I need to go to another country. For me, I can go out to Florida or Hawaii. I don't even have to leave the country. Or I can go out to California on the beach or somewhere like that. Like, there's so many options where you don't even have to leave the country. That's probably the reason people don't have passports, right? At least that's what I think. Like, I never, before doing all this YouTube stuff, learning about, you know, outside countries and thinking like, it would be interesting to see it. Like, it's never something I even thought of. I always thought, well, if I want to go to like a different climate and see a different landscape, I can go to a different state that has that landscape. Because damn near whatever landscape I'd want to see, from fucking Arctic below zero temperatures in Alaska to fucking tropical or desert in like Hawaii or Arizona, we got.
But in the US, everything is so far. Even getting to the next state is a trek and a half. So I am not surprised that a lot of people don't have passports in the US, or that they haven't traveled abroad, or that they don't know other languages, because in order to do these things, you have to be quite privileged financially, which back home in Europe is a very different kind of dynamic. So do I have any regrets? Yes, a couple. First of all, I really wish that I could have stayed longer. But my visa only ran for 6 months, so that's how much time I had.
You come on, lady. You live in a fucking truck, traveling the country. Ain't nobody gonna find you. Come on now.
And I just really hope that one day I get to come back and see more of it. Hopefully, someday soon. Another regret that I have is not having really engaged with different communities across the United States. So next time I come, I'd love to get more perspectives on what it's actually like to live in the US today. You know, people from all kinds of different backgrounds and ethnicities and cultures and communities. So I really hope that I get to do that next time. So a few closing thoughts. I noticed that throughout my time in the United States, my accent started changing, and it went from this like Britishy accent to something more like hybrid American. I'm not sure if I loved that about myself. So I'm just kind of like easing back into my normal way of speaking that is like not influenced by, you know, my context. So yeah.
Fair.
On to the big final question, the most important of them all. Would I live there? I don't know what the handshaking was all for, just to build extra
drama. Come on,
anyway,
now. Get that viewers
would
up.
I live in the United States, given everything I have come to learn about this country, given all the places that I've seen? And the answer is very simple. Yes.
Hey, let's go.
1000%.
Damn right.
I would live in the United States.
Damn right.
To me,
yeah.
the United States is the most beautiful country in the world. It really
Damn
is.
right. USA.
I just love it so
USA.
much. I completely fell in love. So if you're American and you're single, email marriage@ablesmith.com to send me offers of marriage so that I can move there permanently and build a house in Montana or Wyoming or Nevada. Just kidding. That email address does not exist. So those are some of my impressions of the United States. It is really hard to condense 6 months
She
of
said, if you're American and you're single. Nah, that's funny, man. That's great. Hey, subscribe to this lady, man. Ring the bell. Like the video. Man, this was a cool video, and I'm fucking jealous of this chick, bro. She got to do exactly what I want to do. But I want to do it, like, over a year, like, even longer. Like, just have no time limit. But hey, man, hopefully when the YouTube channel grows, maybe we can do that, bro. Like, subscribe, promote me, and, you know, hey, maybe I could, like, show y'all the real country, man. Like, we can make something happen here. You know, I think that would be an awesome, like, most of my audience is foreign, right? Like, let's make it happen. Either way, I'm out. Bye. With